Welcome, everyone. We hope you've had a beautiful week thus far. Happy Monday. We welcome you to Roadmap for a Moral Society. This is session 141. We are beginning today for our next subject, the appearance of the spirit in the body. And we have to start our sessions an opening prayer, followed by the discussion of the appearance of the spirit in the body. Welcome, everyone, and let's discuss. So we have our volunteer. I believe, Armin, you volunteered to say our opening prayer.
Yes, Lord. Oh my God, aid thou thy servant to raise up the word and to refute what is vain and false, to establish the truth, to spread the sacred verses abroad, reveal the splendors, to make the morning light to dawn in the hearts of the righteous. You are verily the generous, the forgiving. Abdullah.
Okay. Welcome. We're going to start with the appearance of the spirit in the body. All right. Someone wants to read?
Sure, I'd be happy.
Okay.
By another token, this world, let me just a second. It's even as the tree and man as the fruit. Without the fruit, the tree would be of no use. Beyond this, the members' constituent parts in composition that are found within man attract and act as a magnet for the spirit. The spirit is bound to appear in it. Thus, when a mirror is polished, it is bound to attract the rays of the sun, to be illumined, and to reflect splendid images. That is, when these physical elements are gathered and combined together according to the natural order and with the utmost perfection, they become a magnet for the spirit, and the spirit will manifest itself therein with all its perfections.
Right. So here again is explaining, comparing a tree that has fruits and the world as we know it, and the human being which has intellect. So they're comparing the fruit of the world is man. Same way that the fruit of a tree, the tree without a fruit obviously is useless. There's no use for it. So here again it says any composition that occurs based on those elements. And we said there are many different spirits generally. The spirit of material, a spirit of plants, and spirit of animals, and spirit of man, and spirit of faith, and Holy Spirit. So question really here is that when this combination of these building blocks genetically put together and a new human being appears, obviously would be the magnet to receive that seed of the soul that is going to be infused with it. And that's really the way that it attracts that that seed of a soul, which becomes a soul of a person when they're at the time of conception. So this is really a comparison, and he's looking at mirror that reflects reality of sun. This is really compared to innate characteristics of God, creator in man. And when that spirit is polished, it reflects attributes of God. So this is really analogy used, which use the mirror as reflection of attributes of the sun, which is the ray of the sun. Similarly, humans would reflect the attributes of God when they're polished, obviously through Holy Spirit or through religion, which is application of Holy Spirit, which is the writings of the latest manifestation. Now here again, it's very interesting. Say when that building block on any elements in the world puts together, first of all, it's complete. That means you don't see species or material that is not complete. Second, here is when those building blocks that creates humans genetically is the vessel that attract the human soul. With all its perfections. So the potential of polishing those attributes within man would reflect the attributes of God. Any comments on this? If not, we're gonna go to
Let me ask you, Gilbert,
Sure.
are you talking about the human spirit, like that's the Holy Spirit and then the human spirit, right? And are we talking about the human spirit and its capacity to, is that what you're talking about? Is that the
Yeah,
kind
this
of,
is just analogy that was used for mirror that reflects the rays of the sun. Same way a human being soul can reflect attributes of God. So God here, or sun, is analogized to the to creator, and of course mirror is reflecting the attributes of sun, and human is a mirror that reflects, if it's polished, of course, if it's polished, reflects attributes of God, which is innate in every human being.
thank you.
Sure. I think for the other spirits, there are subsequent paragraphs we can examine as well. Okay.
From this perspective, one does not ask, why is it necessary for the rays of the sun to fall upon the mirror? For the relationships that bind together the realities of all things, whether spiritual or material, require that when the mirror is polished and turned towards the sun, it should manifest the rays thereof. In like manner, when the elements are composed and combined according to the noblest order, arrangement, and manner, the human spirit will appear and manifest itself therein. Such is the decree of all glory of the all glorious, the all wise.
It's really clearly reiterating of this benevolence or grace of God in terms of how does it perpetuate the souls from spiritual world into the material world is very similar to the mirror, that first of all it has to turn to the sun, not put its back to the sun, turns to the sun. Similarly, the man has to turn to God and then polish its innate attributes, similar that you polish the mirror, to receive and reflect the attributes of God. So this is a very interesting analogy in terms of comparing creator and creation, or man, to ray of the sun itself, and the mirror, which first you need to turn to God, then you have to polish your attributes through Holy Spirit or writings of the latest manifestation, and then you can reflect the attributes of God. So here again it says, when the elements are composed and combined according to the noblest order, you see, we don't have any incomplete species. It's all complete. So it's the human spirit will appear and manifest itself therein. So when those building blocks occur anywhere in the universe, the spirit would attract the spirit to it. Such is the decree of all glorious, the all-wise. So God doesn't choose people to give spirit or soul or not. It's like a ray of a sun. Anywhere in the universe, those building blocks puts together, it attracts the soul, which is for recognition of the creator. And as we read before, creator without creation and creation without the creator is not possible. So there is no, and this sense of time is just a tool for us to measure the length of our lives. But in reality has no meaning in terms of from eternity, creator and creation existed and will exist. Any comments on this? If not, we're going to go to the next subject. The connection between God and his creation. All right, so let's see.
I can read. Question: what is the nature of the connection between God and his creation, between the absolute, inaccessible one and all other things? 2. Answer: the connection between God and his creation is that of the originator and the originated, of the sun and the dark bodies of the universe, of the craftsman and his handiwork. Not only is the sun sanctified in its very essence above all bodies that receive the illumination, but his light is also in its essence sanctified from and independent of the earth. So thou the earth is nurtured by the sun and is the recipient of his light. The sun and his rays are none less sanctified above it. But were it not for the sun, the earth and all terrestrial life could not exist.
Right. So here again, what is the relationship from infinite, see, absolute and inaccessible one, and other created. So we have a creator and created. So here again, this creation is from emanation. That means is a artisan that crafts something, but not part of himself is in it. Is paintings from a painter that is occur. So here it says the universe of craftsman and his handiwork. So that's reflection of the power of creator. Not only is the sun sanctified its very essence above all the bodies that receive its illumination, but its light is also in its essence, sanctified from and independent of the earth. So those, now we're going into our own solar system. So although sun exists and its ray is the source of life on earth, but reality and humanity, as well as live species on earth, does not make the sun, or sun is not dependent on it. Although even if there was no life on earth, sun still would shine, as it may have done for billions of years before any live or material that has DNA what appeared on earth. So there is no relationship from perspective of the necessity for a creator to have creation. So he's not dependent on the creation itself. So it's sanctified from independent of the earth. So sun is independent. Whether earth is there or not is not relevant. It still would shine. So though the earth is nurtured by the sun and is the recipient of its light, the sun and its rays are nonetheless sanctified above it. That means it's not dependent on the earth to exist. But were it not for the sun, the earth and all terrestrial life could not exist. This is very obvious. So that it creates life on earth, the sun. All right. Any comments on this?
You know, this is really mind-boggling to me, Gilbert, because I just watched the very recent Cave of Bones, where it's been established that humanity has been, as an upright walking species, been anywhere between 275 to 300,000 years ago. Mind-boggling scientific exploration. And this really, and they have burial rites, and they honor that means they had a manifestation. That now, for me, puts the creation as far as the species of man that walked upright now 300,000 years ago. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, of course. All right. So world or humanity didn't start 10,000 years ago. All right. So
But that's not what they say. They say that upright men, and I can give you the scientists and so on that explored the Cave of Bones. They confirm that man was walking upright close to 300,000 years.
of course, right.
So doesn't that
Oh, I
prove
was
how
just
dumb of a species
mentioning
we are?
people. Sorry?
Can't that prove how dumb of a species we really are? If it took 300,000 years just to get to the point to draw on a wall.
Well, no, the question really was people that read Bible literally, and there's still some that believe that. The whole thing started 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, but if humanity's that's dumb, you think we'd ever get out of the Stone Ages in the next 100,000 years? Into space?
Hopefully.
It's all about dogma. 35,000 denomination of Christianity, to each his own. And I think for us as a Baha'i, because we believe in science and religion has to agree, we just sort of ignore that.
Yeah, of course. All right. The possession and creation of God is Let's read.
Okay, I can catch it. The procession of creation from God is a procession through emanation. That is, creation emanates from God. It does not manifest him. The connection is that of emanation and not of manifestation. That's a good line, isn't it? The light of the sun emanates from the sun. It does not manifest it. Appearance through emanation is like the appearance of the rays from the sun. The sanctified essence of the Son of Truth cannot be divided or descend into the condition of the creation in the same way. The sun does not divide itself or descend upon the earth, but its rays, the outpourings of its rays, emanate from it and illumine the dark bodies, as will be seen in the next chapter after Baha'i uses the terms appearance through emanation and procession through emanation interchangeably. You were already talking about that, weren't you?
Sure. So here again, what is this relates to? So this is basically saying procession of creation from God is procession to emanation. That means it's a writing and it's a handiwork of God. So that is creation emanates from God. It does not manifest him. That means that no piece of God is any of his creation. So this puts to challenge when, for example, in Christianity, they say basically Jesus is the Lord. Obviously, limited cannot be attached to unlimited, or unlimited cannot bring itself to the limited itself. So there is no piece of God in Jesus or any other human being, although his spirit was ancient and had knowledge of God, but not knowledge of essence of God. So here again, the connection is that of emanation and not manifestation. So there is no piece of God in any of the created things, whether it's mineral or plant or animals or human beings. Appearance through emanation is like the appearance of the rays of the sun. So photons that coming out of the sun, there is no material within the sun or portion of the sun that is carried through photon to the earth. It's the attributes of sun, which is those photons that are dispersed and is coming to earth. So sanctified essence of the Son of truth cannot be divided or descended into condition of the creation. There's no way a piece of God can enter. And why not? Why can anybody say, why can't a piece of God be in a human being? Yeah, the reason is very simple. Same way that your soul is unique, God's is not composed. It's unique also. If you go back to basically proof of the existence of God that we did before, God is not composite. If it's not composite, it cannot divide itself. So in no way it can enter into a body of a person. And it cannot divide. So here, essence of the Son of Truth cannot be divided or descend into the condition of the creation. So based on minimalism, the God is not composite. It's unique. In the same way, the sun does not divide itself or descend upon the earth by its ray. The outpourings of its grace emanates from its and illumines the dark bodies. So it's clearly the sun creates photons and it's dispersed everywhere. All right, any comments on this?
Well, it's so obvious because Baha'u'llah says of his essence, God, I don't know. And that's pretty well the straightforward answers. I don't know his essence.
What does emanation mean?
It's a handiwork. It's a creator that creates something. It's called emanation.
Well, I can use the word emanate. Light emanates from the sun. It radiates. It emanates. But
Right.
what does it mean, though? I can use it in a sentence, but what does it mean?
What do you mean?
That's my point. I don't know what emanation means.
How do you know the sun exists?
Through the light that emanates from it, hence the word
That's right.
emanate. Can we say what the word means so we understand it?
It means
Emanation.
something that originates or issues from a source. That's emanation.
So a lot of things can emanate in many different ways. It's not just the concept of light coming from the sun. A lot of things can express emanation differently, right?
It's the act of flowing, akin. It's the act of flowing or proceeding from a fountainhead or origin. That which issues, flows, or proceeds from any source, substance, or body. Efflux, effluvium, light is an emanation from the sun, wisdom from God, the authority of laws from the supreme power. That's just what I've got from my dictionary. So, yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next.
I can read it if you like.
Go ahead.
But appearance through manifestation is like the manifestations of the branches, leaves, blossoms, and fruit from the seed. For the seed itself becomes the branches and fruit, and its reality descends into them. This manifestational appearance would be sheer imperfection and utterly impossible for the Most High, for this would require unconditioned pre-existence to take on the attributes of the originated absolute independence to become abject poverty, and the essence of existence to become pure non-existence. And this is in no wise possible.
All right, so appearance through manifestation is like manifestation of the branch, leaves, blossom, and fruits from the seed. It's very clear that DNA of a seed has this pre-programmed when the condition occurs of obviously sun, fertile ground, and water, the seed transform itself, right? So transform itself into, that means it dissolves itself and it turns into branches, leaves, and fruits, and flowers and fruits. So that's really called manifestation, which is transformation, right? Now, this manifestation of appearance would be sheer imperfection and utterly impossible for Most High. So this is it's not possible. Why isn't it possible? Is because, first of all, there is only one creator, and the creator is unique. And everything else is created. That is composite. So when you're looking at a seed is a composite, is not unique. So that's really what the difference is. So for this would require unconditional pre-existent to take the attributes that originated. Absolute independence to become abject poverty. That means that God itself cannot grow or cannot morph himself to something else because it's unique and it's only one of them. There is no partner for God, and everything else is created. So this requires unconditional pre-existence to take on the attribute of the originated. So that's the whole point. So it is pre-existed and has that power. Absolute independence to become abject poverty. So he wasn't originated because he's the originator. When we define creator as unique, simple, that created the entire reality based on minimalism, so this dependence cannot exist. And the essence of existence to become pure non-existence, that means that if God was composite and could grow to something else, obviously that element would need a creator also. And it could decompose as well. So that's the definition of creator. So that's not really possible. So you have one unique creator, which is simple and created the entire reality. So if God had different composition, obviously he would decompose as well. So he cannot manifest itself. So that's not possible. So correlating this to minimalism, it becomes very clear why you cannot have a composite God that could manifest to its current position. And some of the argument that was used relates to one of the laws of the minimalism. You cannot create part of yourself. Why cannot you create part of yourself? Because if you did, that person wouldn't be complete to create a part of itself. So that's one of the laws of minimalism. So it looks like it's like saying that a man has a heart, but before he created the heart to put in the man. If heart wasn't with the man, he wouldn't exist. So that's the reason God is unique, universal creator of all creation, and is simple. Okay, any comments on this?
Gilbert, a silly question, really. You know, how they now starting to grow artificial organs like, you know, a lung or a heart or kidney. So
Sure.
just because we, so let's say 3D print a heart, I'm making it up, but you know what I'm saying. and put it in, are we creating part of the system of the body, or am I just being silly about that?
No, you're not doing anything. You're just assembling the reality of the creation, and you're just assembling them. You're not creating anything new. You're using the whole process of creation. For example, right now, actually, they're creating heart valves from pigs, basically DNA in pigs, and then they graft it to the human heart without any problem. This had nothing to do with an entity creating part of itself. It's not possible. Matthew.
Okay, not to be dumb, but George Bush outlawed cloning. Now, their fear was that they could clone a human being. Now, let's say they could. Would that clone human being, I mean, would a soul find that at creation? Or I'm just kind of, when you talk about that, it's kind of weird how that goes.
Yeah, that's the moral question. The problem is that you have to mimic exactly the same combination of the elements in the DNA, and a simple mistake would create another basically copy, which would perish, because that combination basically may not survive, will not survive. Now, you can do this in animals. They have done that successfully.
Yeah, and they're using the clone meat, and they're selling it in grocery stores. I mean, isn't that unhealthy too?
No, not really. You see, all these things they're talking about non-GMO stuff. They're all marketing stuff to make you pay more for something that is as basically valid as a GMO seeds, for example. All they do is they just graft genes that are basically resistant to, let's say, pest. So they modify the genetics of a grain to be resistant to pest. So they don't have to basically put pesticide on it. But there is no difference. Now, if you wait billions of years, that happened, and suddenly the pest, let's assume that wasn't done materially. The same thing happened in nature. For the seed to exist, if the pests are attacking and killing it, it would develop the same basically defense mechanism, because only the ones that are resistant to pests would survive and would flourish. So you can do it through span of time, or you can genetically modify. So we have that technology to speed up the evolution. Now, the moral problems that we're facing is this: that they were trying to clone humans not to make them live. They were trying to make clones of human to use it as a body part.
Yep.
So you can keep a human being alive through machines, a clone through a machine, and then use his body parts. If your kidney goes away, you have a place to go to replace it.
Because
for
that's
your
what
heart.
Putin was. Remember when they had that Xi Jinping and Putin, they were talking about he can become immortal and live. And they were implementing, like, he can clone parts of them. So if something fails, they'll just put a new part in them. So that's kind of what they're talking about.
Right. So as I said, but you cannot, unless that combination of building blocks occurs in the right sequence, you cannot keep that person alive. But you can artificially keep them alive. And then that was the whole moral of the story regarding banning the cloning of humans.
So
But
in his
now
case, if he wants a heart or an arm or a leg, he can clone that, kill the clone, and take the leg. Is that kind of what they would do?
well, you don't need to kill them. You can keep it and use the parts.
All right, grow them and feed them, and then whack them, and then use it later. Is that what
That's right.
That's the immoral
Well, that
part,
was
right?
the moral story, that you shouldn't be cloning.
Okay, I was curious what they were talking about. Now I know. Thank you.
No, it's fine. Yeah, these are, again, ethical questions that has to be answered generally. Now, chances of them, by the way, when you're looking at the cloned, let's say, animals, they did thousands and thousands of them, and then they were successful in one or two. It's very difficult to get the right combination, because it's nature. That's what nature is. Now we have the science to actually change the DNA of the fetus. Not cloning, but the fetus. They can actually, you can, in probably even, maybe now we can do this, but they're not publicizing it. But within the next 10, 15 years, you can actually go and say, well, I want a child that has blue eyes. And they can make a child that has blue eyes for you, because they know exactly what the gene is that makes the eyes of the baby blue.
And to make it worse, they just had a robotic womb where they're implanting the seed, so to speak, to see if it will grow inside a robotic womb. It's unbelievable.
No, of course, that's in vitro fertilization. These are sciences that has grown quite a bit, and then eventually they would mimic it. But the whole question of cloning is an ethical question, generally. Okay, so any other comments on this one?
Well, of course, it's horrifying to me, because there's no sense of the sacred involved in the processes. And I think that in a period of time where science and religion actually both are they're two wings of one bird. And I think that, for example, cloning animals is very different from cloning human beings who attract a pre-existent soul, So it's a very, I mean, humanity thinks it's God. These scientists get a little bit carried away with their prowess and without limits and ethics. I think the sense of sacredness, that's very old-fashioned to some people. Some people could say, oh, it's very poo-poo, but it is about the sanctity of human life. And because this life was created through a process and evolved over time, there are certain laws that actually accompany the conception of human life and so on. I mean, I'm for science, but I also think there should be ethical. And I still think that people, human beings, are not God, and they have no right to fiddle with the sacred without there being an ethical code for them to do so, is my point. So people who
chances of them being successful is very low. Very low.
They will try, Gilbert, because people have got egos.
Yeah.
And but they've also got curiosity. Like, you know, scientists are very curious people and they want to try things and so on and so forth. But my bottom line is about preserving the sense of sacredness means that in their profession, there should be a really strict ethical and moral code, because I've been coming to these sessions for ages now, and one of the things you repeat often and often is about, human beings not harming others. And I think that's a sense of the sacred, if you will. Thank you.
I think, Sharon, the sacred here is that you can create the parts, right? And maybe even reassemble the parts. But what you can't create is the non-material. And at moment of conception, God-given is your soul. And by recreating a bunch of parts, that means you recreate something that animals don't have a soul. So therefore, you're just crossed over into a species without a soul. And I feel that that's where ultimately the true reality lies.
Well, actually, it's the same thing I've been saying, Sabine, but you've just said it in a different way. And, just the point of life to me because of the creator creating this creation, and I acknowledge that, therefore life is sacred. And, animals, cloning animals they're not the receptacle, or they're not the article that the emanation of the soul gets attracted to. So it's quite a different thing when you're talking about that, and you're talking about human beings, is my point. But exactly, we're both saying the same thing in reality in different ways. Thank you.
Sure. But even if you eventually make organs out of a peach tree petri dish, you can do that eventually. Now they're making, actually they graft skin that they grow, and then for people that are burned, they can use it to cover the body of burned people. So there are a lot of, but remember, what they're doing is not creating artificial skin. They're just growing using the same DNA and just making it, assembling something which creates a part of a body.
It's a very helpful, wonderful process. But one of the point that I'm saying, basically, I mean, I've been an allied health professional for 40 years, so I get that, and I would love that for my patients. But it's just a bit about, cloning human beings. Like, how would that work? Like, you clone a human being. Well, what's the point where the soul contacts that clone, etc.? So it's a kind of that's why I was trying to say that human beings are not the creator, they're not God. So there are some areas that they can do, and that process from the creator to the creation, and that particular process, if you will, whereby when the embryo is forming and the soul then aligns to that, that's a process that, to me, is sacred within itself, because that is a gift from the creator. It's a pre-existent soul. It has a purpose. And I don't think a clone could have the right constituent elements to do that. So I just think that. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. How about reading the next one?
Follows that all things have emanated from God. That is, it is through God that all things have been realized, and through him that the contingent world has come to exist. The first thing to emanate from God is that universal reality, which the ancient philosophers termed the first intellect, and which the people of Baha called the primal will. This emanation, with respect to its action in the world of God, is not limited by either time or place, and has neither beginning nor end. For in relation to God, the beginning and the end are one and the same. The pre-existence of God is both essential and temporal, while the origination of the contingent world is essential but not temporal, as we have already explained another day at table.
Okay, so here, obviously, we said that God is the unique creator of the all reality. And it was proved that and there is no other God that exists except him. So here that says that through him that the contingent world has come to exist. The first thing to emanate from God is the universal reality, which is ancient philosophy called first intellect. So this is, in Baha'i term, is called primal will. So the primal will was to be known. So this creator created intellects to be known. If no intellect existed at any point in time, the creator wouldn't be known. And you couldn't call it creator because no creation that could recognize him was creation always existed. So here is this emanation with respect to its action in the world of God is not limited by either time or place and has neither beginning nor end. So philosophically, you cannot imagine and call a creator when no creation exists. So, and as we know, even in laws of thermodynamics, material only changes form. It doesn't die, it doesn't get created, nothing gets created from nothing. So God had to exist and creation had to exist, and there is no time related to it. So there is no beginning of God and there is no end, and no one and the same. So there is no beginning, there is no end. The pre-existent God is both essential and temporal. While the origination of the contingent world is essential but not temporal. That means that there could have been a time that this universe that we're looking at didn't exist, but your spiritual world existed, not the temporal world. So this is really the key in terms of, as we mentioned, even if the material world didn't exist, the spiritual world had intellect or capacity to recognize God. So there is really no beginning, no end. Creation has been always there. And the world of God is infinite. That means that there may be other universes, that other species that had intellect had appeared there, which we have no way of recognizing or detecting them. Any comments on this? If not, we're going to read the next one.
Though the first intellect is without beginning, this does not mean that it shares in the pre-existence of God, for in relation to the existence of God, the existence of that universal reality is mere nothingness. It cannot even be said to exist, let alone to partake of the pre-existence of God. An explanation of this matter was provided on a previous occasion.
Okay, so this first intellect or primal will is what emanates from God that creates and created actually the seed of the soul of manifestations which are with God. So here again, they cannot share pre-existence with God because they're emanated. The primal will emanates from God, the desire to be known. So in relation to the existence of God, if God didn't exist, the primal will wouldn't exist either. But it's not, primal will is not correlated to essence of God. So compared to essence of God or universal reality is mere nothingness. It cannot even said to exist, let alone to partake of the pre-existence of God. So it's not part of God, basically. And it's not necessitate on the creation of God, because God has no beginning. So this primal will is what emanates and coexisted with creation and God. And they've always been there. Any comments on this? This, all right. Okay. Let's read again.
Sure. As for go ahead. I read before.
Through created things, their life consists in composition and their death in decomposition. The matter and the universal elements cannot be entirely destroyed and annihilated. No, their annihilation is merely transformation. For instance, when man dies, his body becomes dust, but it does not become absolute non-existence. It retains a mineral existence, but a transformation has taken place, and that composition has been subjected to decomposition. It is the same with the annihilation of all other beings. For existence does not become absolute non-existence, and absolute non-existence does not acquire existence.
This basically describes the laws of thermodynamics. So here you're saying that created things, their life consists of composition. So any elements that you look at is a composite. And at one point, it would disintegrate based on laws of thermodynamics. Any composition through entropy, it drops, basically, it becomes decomposed. So all the elements in the universe in a process of decomposition, generally. So that's a universal law. So, but their annihilation is merely transformation. That means it goes from one state to the other. For instance, when man dies, his body becomes dust, but it does not become absolute non-existence. So obviously, we go back to the original element. But a transformation had taken place and the composition has been subjected to decomposition. So that's why spirit of man never dies, because it's not composite, it's unique. Same way God is unique. So in the same with the annihilation of all other beings. So any other beings that you can see eventually turns into dust. For existence does not become absolute non-existent. So nothing disappears. It goes to its component, or it turns into heat, which is called enthalpy. And absolute non-existent does not acquire existence. So nothing happens from nothing. Something cannot get created out of nothing. So when you go beyond the Big Bang theory, nobody can tell where that the original seed that was the size of a watermelon became this universe that we see today. But they don't know what happened before that, how this particular seed was created. Any comments on this? All right. So,
Well, the new Webb telescope, right? It proved, as we call it, the universe, that they collapsed the theory of the Big Bang because they're pretty well established that we're in a multiverse. And so therefore, there is no need to even try to figure out what was the Big Bang. What we're saying as Baha'is, what was the original bang from the multiple universe, like the Russian little thing, right? There's something inside and lots and lots and lots of them and make up that Russian doll in the end. And that's what we're looking at, is the theory of the commencement. That's what you said. We don't know. There's no answer to that whatsoever.
correct. Great. Okay, so now we have a new subject and a new questions. The procession of the human spirit from God. We need a volunteer to read.
I can read.
Go ahead.
Question: in what manner does the human spirit proceed from God? Since in the Torah it is said that God breathed the spirit into the body of man. Answer: know that procession is of two kinds: procession and appearance through emanation, and procession and appearances through manifestation. Emanational procession is like the procession of the handiwork from its author. For example, the writing proceeds from the writer. Now, just as the writing emanates from the writer and the discourse from the speaker, so does the human spirit emanates from God. But it does not manifest him. That is, no part has been separated from the divine reality to enter into the body of man. No, the human spirit has emanated just as speech emanates from the speaker and become manifested in the body of man.
Right. Now this is very clear now, and this question regarding the breath of the spirit into the body of man, again, it's an emanation. It's the air coming from God that creates the soul of a man. So what is emanation? Know that procession is of two kinds. Procession and appearance to emanation, and procession and appearance to manifestation. Emanational procession is like the procession of the handiwork from its author. So if you're a writer, you write a book, that's what emanation is. No part of the author is in the book. accept what is in his mind that is written on a piece of paper that would be a separate handiwork of that person. For example, the writing proceeds from the writer. Now, just as the writing emanates from the writer and is coursed from the speaker, so does the human spirit emanates from God. So God has the seed of the spirit of or soul of a man in the spiritual world, and it descends that and fuses it with the body at the time of conception. And no part of God is in that soul. Now, what does this really trying to prove? That pantheistic religion, which says the collective consciousness of humanity creates God. That's the pantheism, which is part of Sufism as well. Sufism thinks the same way. So this is really refuting the relationship, manifested relationship of God with humans or human soul. So there is no piece of God in each and every human being. So there's the human spirit, which is soul, emanates from God, not manifests from God. But it does not manifest him, that is, no part has been separated from the divine reality to enter into the body of man. No, the human spirit emanated, just as speech emanated from a speaker and becomes manifested in the body of man. So the body of man is the one that puts it out. Okay, any comments on this?
I do.
Go ahead.
So the idea of emanation through procession and appearance through manifestation. The procession principle of some kind of matter transfer in the contact, induction, whatever words are correct. I'm not at the moment in that headspace to realize what is the best way to say it, but in short, some form of contact. Whereas the other manifestation and the use of the explanation, the voice, if you will, I'll repeat the words. The human spirit emanating from God, the discourse from the speaker. I'm just trying to understand this. When we convey sound, sound itself, you're not really contacting somebody. Like the speech that you're hearing from the speaker of the Zoom on your phone or your computer, that's the compression of the particles in the air that affects your ears, that causes you to hear something due to energy transfer. So the energy transfer is not matter, it's energy, in the context that anything that you're affected by is, again, that transfer of energy that allows it to reach you. So what I'm asking is, are these the two different types of emanation? One being something that relates to contact, be it through radiation, and the other being transfer of energy itself?
Here, I think this manifest means it's a different word. Manifest means become real. This is not the same meaning as manifesting, that is a piece of that person is coming out. It appears that that speech was related to the man. When you say that The person's soul is on his tongue.
Well,
So
it
this
doesn't say that
manifestation,
the soul is on his tongue. It says the human spirit has emanated just as speech emanates from the speaker. So I'm viewing this to be, if not a metaphor, a simile, and the principle of the words be and it is, kun fayakun, all these types of language, like, God was the word was with God, the word was God, this type of conveyance of a word. From what I understand, it's energy. If we look at what sound is in the world,
no, of
sound,
course. Yeah. I think what it is here, it says that when you put those words together, you're basically crafting it. You're creating an image which is manifest to the listeners, is manifest, is coming from your body.
but I remember reading, I think Abdul Baha mentions elsewhere about how the fact that we're able to hear music is accidental, that it occurred that we were able to pick up sound in the manner that the bones can be receiving the signal, and then our brain can pick it up as sound as we hear it now. So what I'm saying is, if I can clarify even more, sound itself is a vibration of the particles in the air as energy passes through it. So what I mean specifically is that energy that passes through sound is a byproduct of that energy passing through.
No, but remember, sound requires a medium.
Yeah, in this case, the air particles vibrating in the air.
That's right. So if you have a vacuum, sound cannot travel because it's oscillation of the air that propagates the voice itself.
Yes.
All right, I think let's go to manifestation. We can better understand what manifestation is. All right. Let's read this.
It's your manifestation of procession. It is the manifestation of the reality of a thing in other forms, like the procession of this tree or this flower from their seeds. For it is the seed itself that has become manifested in the form of the branches, leaves, and flowers. This is called manifestational procession.
Right. So here, again, it's very clear manifestational procession. It is manifestations of the reality of a thing in other forms. So first of all, it has to be composite. Those material that is required for transformation has to be present, and it transform itself or manifest itself into another thing. So like a procession of this tree or this flower from their seed. For it is the seed itself that has become manifested in the form of the branches, leaves, and flowers. So this is really manifestational process. You go from one form to the other.
And is this the same type of manifestation that we see, for example, the attributes appearing in someone in new generations of people? For example, we talk about biblical prophecies of the return of somebody coming in the future, and then the appearance of all those qualities occur in that person 1,000 years later. That would be this type of a manifestation we're talking about, or is manifestation a general term for a lot of qualities we're talking about?
Well, the manifestation in terms of Baha'i use relates, the difference of it is an ancient soul that manifests in the body of the manifestation that we call.
So we're
It's
talking
not,
about manifestations of God, God manifesting himself through these beings that are ancient souls that come
Correct.
and return to humanity to teach us something.
That's right. So their soul is different than our soul.
So to people who come from, say, understanding of Eastern religion, be it they call themselves Hindus or Buddhists and whatnot, this idea of reincarnation of these avatars, if you will, these avatars that come and teach lessons to humanity, is it similar to that?
I'm not familiar with those religions in general, but in reality, manifestations of God have been coming to Earth from the time that humans appeared, and there may be thousands and thousands of them, but we only have traces of few generally. So this doesn't mean that they weren't there before.
So this idea of thousands and thousands, humanity has received messages from God all around the globe, not just in the Middle East.
No, of course. When you're dealing, for example, with American Indians, they had their own manifestations as well. So they have a culture that was developed based on receiving messages of God. And that was obviously the European, when they started colonize other countries or other land, they were using that, and they were called them savages generally. Some were obviously less educated and some were more spiritually, but they were all part of the human family, and messages of God had reached them to the potential of the spiritual potential that they had. Actually, when they colonized Africa, the Europeans, Christians were enslaving Muslims, actually, and they were calling them savages, but they were Muslims. So there were a lot of atrocity that occurred, not recognizing the messengers of God or the culture of the people. Obviously, these atrocities occurred last couple of 100 years, mostly from a religious perspective. Things have become more visible through communication means that we have.
And unfortunately, these injustices you mentioned still happen today. They happen around the world, unfortunately.
Of course.
Thank you for touching on that point.
Sure.
So I think this would be as is 923. This slide may be the last quote we read for tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Let's read this and close the night. All right.
So I sent out a request for a volunteer to read. Oh, Zabine.
The spirits of men proceed from God by emanation in the same way as the discourse proceeds from the speaker and the writing from the writer. That is, the speaker himself does not become the speech any more than the writer becomes, then the writer becomes the writing. The connection is rather one of the emanational procession, for the speaker remains in an absolute state of ability and power as the discourse emanates from him, even as the action emanates from its author. The true speaker, the divine essence, ever remains in the same condition and experiences no change or alteration, no transformation or vicissitude. It has neither beginning nor end. The procession of human spirits from God is therefore an emanational procession. When it is said in the Torah that God breathed his spirit into man, this spirit is even a speech that has emanated from the true speaker and taken effect in the reality of man.
Right. Now it's clearly here again, procession of the soul is, or the spirit of man is from God through emanation, in the same way the discourse proceeds from a speaker, a writer, from a writings from the writer. So speaker himself obviously doesn't become the speech, and the writer doesn't become the writing. And the connection between these two elements are emanational procession. So the speaker remains in an absolute state of ability and power to create more and more writings or more and more speeches. So the discourse emanates from him, even as the action emanates from his author. So clearly, these are emanation processes. So true speaker, the divine essence, which is unknown, ever remains in the same condition and experiences no change or alteration. Same way, creation of man doesn't alter the power of the creator. So compilation of the emanated souls of a man doesn't create God. So consciousness of humanity doesn't create God, which pantheistic religions believe in. So here again, the procession of the human spirit from God is therefore an emanational procession. So it's emanation. And he can create as many species as he likes without any problem, but doesn't impact his essence. So when it is said that in the Torah that God breathed his spirit into man, his spirit into man, this spirit is even a speech that has emanated from true speaker and taken effect in the reality of man. So here again is question of interpretation, which is very interesting, that he says, breathed his spirit. So here, spirit means the act of emanation. So spirit of God is not the essence of God, is the emanation of the action that God performed. Same way that spirit is even as speech that has emanated from true speaker and taken effect in the reality of man. It's pretty clear process. Looks like we came to the end, so let's have someone read the closing prayer and we can call it the night. Any volunteer?
I could say prayer.
Arya.
Go ahead.
Okay. Oh my God, unite the hearts of thy servants, and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, lead them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts for thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone, and hopefully we see everyone next week, same time.
Okay.
Good
Bye.
night.